With a return of Guardian games, they're actually going to be introducing a brand new SMG called the Title. It is a 750 round per minute Haka Void SMG, which is going to have some crazy potential due to its new and exclusive origin trait as of right now. And in this video, I want to go over the rules that we're going to be able to see for this weapon, alongside giving you my recommendations for PvE and PvP. Now, really quick, I do want to go and say that I do have a Destiny video that's about to hit 100,000 views as I'm recording this, and I seriously cannot thank you all so much for that support. That is absolutely crazy for me. I never would have thought I would have actually hit something that far. But if you guys do enjoy my Destiny content and would like to see more, consider subscribing, dropping a like, and turning those notifications on. It really helps me out, and I truly appreciate it. But all right, what's going on, guys? It's Rest, and I have all the perk pool for the Title SMG that we're going to have right here. This is going to be a very interesting gun for PvP, I think, for the most part, but it does have some really cool PvE rolls as well with Void 3.0. Just starting off, we have all our normal barrels and pretty much all of our normal rounds right here, or mags. But for our perks, we're going to have Perpetual Motion, Grave Robber, Steady Hands, Hipfire Grip, Dynamic Sway Reduction, Stats for All, and Threat Detector. Then our second column, we're going to have Focus Fury, Turnabout, Moving Target, One for All, Vorpal Weapon, Surround It, and Swashbuckler. Now, for the Origin trait, this is actually going to give you class ability energy whenever you get a kill. So it's kind of like Demo, but just for your class ability, which is very strong, being that it is just a Origin trait. You can still have other perks as well. So I can see some crazy build potential coming out with this, especially with something like a Hunter that uses volatile rounds, because obviously their main way of getting volatile rounds is to use their dodge to then make a void well. So you're going to be able to get that dodge back even quicker to make that chain even better. Now, obviously something like Titan and Warlock could also use it extremely well because of, a Bastion Barricade, or even the brand new boots that the Warlock has for granting overload rounds. So since we're already on the topic of PvE, I was just going to go over a PvE roll that you can get. Just taking a look at everything for the barrel, just kind of go with whatever you want. But for PvE, I would pretty much would always recommend either armor piercing rounds or ricochet rounds. Ricochet rounds for fun. Armor piercing rounds are probably the most usefulness because you do get a little bit more damage to shields. It's not a lot, but it is there. So I pretty much would always recommend taking armor piercing rounds on pretty much any PvE weapon. Plus, if there is ever anti-barrier SMG, it's going to be very, very good. Now, for our main perks, Perpetual Motion is a very good PvE perk. Grave Robber is okay, but it's not the greatest. Steady Hands, you don't want. Hipfire Grip, you don't want. Dynamic Sway, you don't want. Stats for All is pretty good, and Threat Detector is pretty good. So in the first column, you're really competing with 3 perks with things like Perpetual Motion, Stats for All, and Threat Detector. Threat Detector is probably one of the least most interesting ones out of those 3 because you have to be close to enemies, which you are going to be since it is SMG, but it isn't always going to be procced, whereas something like Perpetual Motion and Stats for All can be easily procced all the time. So I probably would eliminate Threat Detector and definitely recommend taking Stats for All or Perpetual Motion. I would probably go with Perpetual Motion because this is basically just going to make it when you're moving, you get more reload speed and a bunch of other benefits like handling stability, I'm pretty sure. But Stats for All is going to pair really well with some of our other perks. So if you look at the other one, Focus Fire is okay for PvE. It's definitely not the greatest. Turnabout's actually pretty good for PvE. Moving Target, you don't want. One for All is pretty good. Vorpal is okay, Surrounded is pretty good, and Swashbuckler is pretty good. If you take something like Vorpal with armor piercing rounds, it's going to be very good for champions. Again, if there ever is a anti-barrier SMG mod, that is going to be extremely good. But for just general play, things like Swashbuckler is going to be very good. One for All is also going to be really good. Surrounded is okay. I honestly was not a huge fan of Surrounded. I know some people like it with Surrounded spec. And then things like Focus Fury and Turnabout could be okay, but I would never recommend taking them over some of the other perks. So now that we broke all that down, you can kind of see combinations we're going to go for. For just a general playstyle, Perpetual Motion and Swashbuckler is going to be very good. Getting a kill is giving you a damage boost. Moving is giving you some reload speed. It's just a generic, very, very good workhorse weapon. And since it is Void, you're going to be able to get volatile rounds. And remember, you are getting that class ability energy. Now, you can also take things like Stats for All and One for All, because now when you hit 3 different targets, you're getting a bunch of different benefits from Stats for All. And One for All is giving you that damage boost as well, which is really, really good. It's also extremely easy to get both of those perks procced because it is an SMG that shoots relatively quick. So getting these 2 to work together is extremely easy. But remember, if there is only 2 enemies in the room, you're not going to be able to proc these perks. But also remember, if there's 2 enemies in the room, you probably don't need to proc these perks. So Stats for All, One for All is a crazy good combination for this. And it's probably the #1 role I would recommend going for, because it is not that hard to proc, and the amount of benefits you're getting just for hitting 3 different targets, which is very easy to do with the SMG, is just crazy, crazy good. Now, you do also have the benefit of Threat Detector and Surround It. So when you're in the fight, you got threat detector proc, you got surrounded proc, but again, it is very limited to the amount of enemies that are around. That is the reason I don't really like these perks as much, but they are decent compared to some of the other perks. This is probably like the lowest list of PvE rolls I would get, other than, obviously some like moving target. But for good PvE rolls, threat detector surrounded is probably on the bottom, but it is still very good. I think stats for all, one for all is probably my go-to what I would get, but even things like perpetual motion and swashbuckler is going to be really good as well. It kind of just depends on your play style. If you're going for a GM, obviously, Vorpal for champions is going to be good, but for the most part, this is probably going to replace some funnel webs for people that don't have a good one. So I would probably go with perpetual motion swashbuckler if you're just trying to have, again, just a general very, very good workhorse weapon. Enough with PvE, let's talk about PvP. So again, run whatever build you want the most. You want more range, handling, recoil direction, just pick the one you like. For rounds, again, I would pretty much always recommend ricochet rounds or high caliber rounds. This does not have accuraz rounds for more range, so you're going to be relying on things like armor piercing, high caliber, ricochet. High caliber is going to be good for flinching people, and ricochet is always just a very good option for range instability. I would probably go with high caliber just to try to flinch people as much as possible. But getting into the perks, again, perpetual motion is actually pretty decent for PvP. Grave robber you don't want. Steady hands is okay. Hipfire grip is really good. Dynamic sway is really good. Stats for all is not that good. You don't want that. Threat detector is okay, but again, you don't really want that. So perpetual motion, again, is just moving, gives you that nice benefit. Hipfire grip, extremely strong. It's one of the best perks in the game, in my opinion, honestly, especially on a close range weapon. You're going to easily be able to land your shots. Steady hands is also okay for getting that handle increase. So I don't really think you're going to need it too much, but if you do want more handling, you can get that. Then dynamic sway is also very good because the longer you hold down the trigger, which you're going to be doing a lot with the SMG, you're going to get more accurate, which is very, very nice. But now in the second column, focus sphere, you don't want. Turnabout, you don't want. Moving target's actually pretty good. One for all, you don't want. Vorpal could be okay for taking supers out, but I would definitely recommend other stuff. Surrounded, you don't want. And swashbuckler, again, could be okay for getting a damage increase, which then will make your next kill even easier. So for this, we're going to be building for consistency as much as possible. So I would 100% out of this right column always take moving target, because it's just going to give you more benefits while you're moving, which is nice for aiming down sight. And again, you compare that with something like perpetual motion. So now when you're moving, you're getting your perpetual motion procs, and when you're aiming down sight, you're getting your moving target procs. So they kind of synergize extremely well together. It makes a very mobile SMG, which you want to be doing in the first place. But even if you take something like dynamic sway, moving target, when you aim it down sight, you're just going to be very accurate. You're going to have a lot of aim assist, and you're going to be able to land shots that you probably didn't think you would hit. But you can also go with things like hipfire grip, moving target. So now when you aim down sight, you're getting bonuses, and if somebody ever gets close enough, your hipfire grip is also giving you bonuses, which is very, very cool. And once again, you are getting class ability energy back every time you get a kill with the origin trait. So for my best overall PvP role, I'm going to be on the lookout for is definitely moving target, perpetual motion. I think that's a very fun role to put together. Just moving around is going to give you a bunch of bonuses and make the SMG even better. But again, even taking things like hipfire or dynamic sway or even steady hands isn't even going to be the worst thing. And like they say in the top, these are going to be farmable. They're going to come fully masterwork with double perks in the third, fourth column. So hopefully farming for whatever your god role you want should be easy. But I'm definitely wishing you all the best of luck depending on what role you want, because I think this SMG is actually going to be pretty good and going to have a place in the meta right now, especially in PvE since it is a void SMG. And I think everyone should 100% be on the lookout for this one. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.